Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of biology. And of course, today we're looking at the human reproductive system. All right, do not forget that these tutorials, these episodes, all of these videos you are watching, are brought to you by the O3 Schools app. We have the JAMB app, we have the WAEC app, all in a bid to make you pass your exam at once. If you have made a conscious decision that you do not want to ever repeat JAMB in your life or write WAEC twice, please get the apps and start preparing. We'll talk about the app in a moment. Let us see a question from the app, a past question. This is 2024 question number 20. It says here that which structure, the question is being displayed on the screen. It said which structure is represented by letter A on the diagram of the female reproductive system. So given the diagram there, you can see A in the direction of A. Now, A says is the ovary, B says is the uterus, C says is the endometrium, D says is the fallopian tube. So we'll come back to this question and many more at the end of the class and not before, because at O3 Schools, we take pride in teaching you first. We believe that once we have taught you fully well, then any question that comes your way will be a walk in the park, according to how they say it. All right, so please ensure you get the O3 Schools application. The app is available for your Android devices, available for your iPhones, available for your laptops. So if you need the app on your laptop, message this number on WhatsApp. And if you need question about the app, just message this number on WhatsApp. The app has all the past questions that you need for your exam. All right, past question on all subjects in one app. And of course, there are some other couple of amazing features that are designed specifically to make you succeed. What are those features? Number one, we have the classroom. The classroom feature has lecture notes that have been structured according to the JAMB syllabus or according to the WAEC syllabus. So you do not need any textbook at all if you have the application. All the notes are on the application. And what's more is that in that classroom, there's a study plan. You can create a study plan. What the study plan does is to create a timetable for you. It will break down all of your syllabus and create a timetable for you so that you can study and finish the syllabus. A lot of you made the mistake of writing your exams without finishing your syllabus, and that's a big problem. Some of you even read without the syllabus at all. So please ensure that you get the app immediately. Also, there's a question search feature. You can search for question according to topic, and the question that JAMB has set from that topic from anywhere in past question will come out for you to answer, thereby cementing your understanding about any particular topic. What's more, also, there's a mock challenge. In that mock challenge, you compete with other students that are writing the exam for this year. Compete with them, but you get used to JAMB past questions, JAMB likely exam questions. You familiarize yourself with how examiners set questions, and what's more, you'll be seeing your results released just like the normal JAMB or that like normal WAEC exam, right? Thereby building your confidence and making you to track how prepared you are per time. So please jump on the application, download it immediately, activate it. Activation comes with a little prize. So please ensure you check the application for the current price, right? And activate your app. If you need to activate your app, message this number on WhatsApp. So let us begin with the human reproductive system. And quickly, it's interesting to let you know that there's no way we'll talk about the human reproductive system without taking our minds back to maybe adolescence or puberty. Remember all those things we're told, right, from our primary schools to secondary school. So all those developmental stages like puberty and adolescence, they are things that we need to first of all ponder on before we now start strictly talking about the human reproductive system. And what do we say adolescence is? Adolescence. And what is adolescence? We say adolescence is a transitional state or transitional period between childhood and adulthood. It is a transitional period. It's a transitional period between childhood and adulthood. So as you are moving, from when you were born, you started growing, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to 14. From childhood to adulthood, the transitional period is what we call adolescence. And from this childhood to this adulthood, where a child will attain sexual maturity, you see that there are so many developments that were many changes that occur in our body, both as a male and both as a female. Okay, so adolescence is a time of life, when a person attains sexual maturity. Okay, it is a time of life when a person attains sexual maturity, because during childhood, a person is not capable of what? Of reproducing. Okay, it's not capable of what? Of reproduction at all. All right, but when the person hits puberty, the person starts seeing some changes. Okay, you start seeing some changes, and by the time you are done with adolescence, you see that you have attained sexual maturity. And there are so many changes that we observe during puberty, okay, which is such as for the boys, their voice become deeper, all of those things. For the girls, their voice too also change, okay, but not that it's deep, but their voice just changes. But for the male, okay, their voice become deeper. You can feel it from their voice, that's deeper, voice more, their shoulders become broad, okay, and then so many changes you'll be observing. They start to develop facial hair, pubic hair, okay, hairs in the private part, and so on and so forth. All right, menstruation start for some. Okay, so that is that for that. But one thing that is common to both the human and the female, the male and the female reproductive system, okay, the changes that we observe in the male and the female that is the same is what? Development of reproductive organs. Okay, so that's for the female, you begin to see enlargement of of breasts, or the mammary gland. Okay, so those are the changes we experience. Okay, so in both male and female, you see development of the reproductive organ. And that is why we're talking about the reproductive system today. And what is the reproductive system that we're talking about? Okay, so the reproductive system is a part of the human body. A part of the human body which has different organs, organs that come together that come together and facilitate the production of reproductive cells. Reproductive cells or gametes. Okay? So that is what? That is reproductive system. It's a part of the body that has different organs that come together to facilitate the production of of reproductive cells or gametes. Okay, in other words, you can say that facilitates reproduction, that helps to facilitate reproduction. Okay, so that is what the reproductive system is. The part of the body that has different organs. You see them too. Okay, such as we can see the reproductive. This is for the male, and this is for the female. Okay, so you see them, they have different organs. Okay, they help to facilitate, or they help to facilitate the production of reproductive cells or gamete. This is the male, this is the female. Okay, if this is not how your own looks like, I'm sorry. All right, but this is definitely not my own. Okay, but let us continue with why we are here. So now let us begin with the male reproductive system. Okay, the male reproductive system, and of course, like this is the male reproductive system. Okay, and for the male reproductive system, the main reproductive organ, okay, in the male reproductive system is the testes. Okay, this is singular, while the plural is testes. Okay, and as you can see it here, this is the testes. There are two, there are a pair of them. All right, we have a pair of testes. It is the male it is the main reproductive organ in the male. And the reason why we call it the male reproductive organ is because it is responsible for the production, okay, of sperm. All right, so the testis is responsible for the production of sperm, and this sperm, okay, is the male gamete. The male gamete, okay. The testes, they are located outside our body, okay. They are located outside the body. They are not internal, okay. They are located outside the body. And why are the testes located outside the body. And the reason why our testes are located outside the body is because for proper functioning and production of what, or sperm, okay, there's a certain temperature that is required for it, okay? So it doesn't need somewhere that's too heat, too cold or too hot, all right? There's a allowed temperature that makes it to perform efficiently, okay? And that is why it is located outside the human body. So the testes are located outside our body, okay? And we'll usually call it extra abdominal, okay? That is the testis, okay? And of course, like I've told you, it is protected. This testis is protected by the closing, okay? It's protected by a sac, and the SAC of skin-like structure. Okay, it is protected by a sac of skin-like structure known as the scrotum. Okay, SCROTUM. It is protected. The testis is protected by a sac of skin-like structure known as the scrotum. Okay, and like I said, that testis is located outside the body, and the reason why it's located outside the body is because the testis need it needs a temperature that is about 2 to 3 degrees, okay, lower than the body temperature, lower than the body temperature. So the testis, for proper functioning, it needs a temperature of about 2 to 3 degrees lower than the normal body temperature. That is why the testis is located outside the male body. Now, once the sperm is produced, it is sent to the next part, okay, of the male reproductive system, called the epididymis. Okay, so epididymis is the next part is it is sent to. Okay, in the epididymis, it is stored temporarily. Okay, and immediately it goes to the next part. The next part, called the vas deferens. Okay, so from the production, once it's produced when the sperm is produced in the testis, it goes to the next part called the epididymis, where it is stored, and then it's stored for a while. Then after that place, it goes to the vas deferens, also called the sperm duct. Okay, this vas deferens is also called sperm ducts. Okay, the vas deferens is also called the sperm duct. Now, on the way, it receives secretion from accessory glands. It receives secretions, okay, from accessory glands, such as this seminal vesicle is an accessory gland. The prostate gland is an accessory gland, all right? So, and also the urethral gland, okay, it receives secretion from the seminal vesicle, from the prostate gland, from also the urethral gland. Okay, and once it receives all of this secretion, right, it now forms the semen, SEMEN. Okay, and once it's formed the semen, then it now joins with the urethra, all right, where it now taking to join the penis. Okay, and then from the penis, now goes out of the external body. It is now released. It is now released. So after the semen is formed, after the secretion from all of these accessory glands, it joins with the urethra. Then it comes out throughout the male organ called the penis. All right, and it's through this penis. All right, that this semen is released. So now the pathway for the male reproductive system, okay, the pathway, all right, for the production of semen and the release is, number one, from the testis. It starts with the testis, okay? The testis where the sperm is produced, okay? And then from the testis, it goes to the epididymis, okay? And then from the epididymis, it now goes to the sperm duct, or the one we call the vas deferens, all right? Then from the vas deferens, from here, it receives secretions. Here, it receives secretion. After the vas deferens, it receives secretions from From seminal vesicle, prostate gland, from the seminal vesicle, okay, prostate gland, and urethra gland. And then what? It now forms what? The semen. Okay? From the semen, okay, as the semen is what is now what formed, it now what joins with the what? With the urethra. Okay? And then from the urethra, it now what? Joins with what? With the penis, where it is what? It is released. Okay? So what really forms the semen, okay? What really forms the semen is what? Is the sperm plus what? This accessory what? Gland. Okay? So what really forms what? The semen. The semen. S-E-M-E-N is what? The sperm is the accessory glands plus the what? Plus the sperm is what gives us what? The semen. Okay, so just understand what this pathway from the testis to the epididymis, then to the what? Sperm duct or vas deferens, then to the urethra, and then what? The penis. Okay, where it is what? Released from. So the epididymis, okay, it is the part. It is usually located at the what? At the back side, okay, of what? The sperm. Okay, it is where what? The sperm is stored, okay, temporarily. Okay, so please take note of the epididymis. Yeah, I think you questions come out from the epididymis a lot in your past questions, so please ensure you pay attention to it. It stores what? The sperm. All right, it stores the sperm. Now that is what the male reproductive system. Okay, and then now let us now look at the female. All right, let's see the female reproductive system. Now, before I talk about the female reproductive system, I've discovered that several of you do not support our enterprise. Okay, you do not even want us to grow. Some of you have even sworn, saying in your family, you know, they want me for my family, you know, want me person succeed. Okay, please, that is very, very bad. Okay, please ensure you like this video. That's the only way you can support this video. Okay, click on that like button so that it can easily be be recommended to other students who are preparing for this exam like you. Okay, many students are not aware of this channel and not aware of what we do. All right, by liking it alone, okay, it's even sufficient for them to know about it. And what is more, subscribe to the channel. Subscription to this channel is free. Okay, it's just for you to get notification whenever we release a new video. So click on that red subscribe button below this video, and of course, ensure also to drop comments if you have questions, and do not also forget to subscribe, okay, and share the link of this video to your friends and loved ones. Copy the link, copy the link, click on the share button, copy the link, share it to your class group, to your friends, to your loved ones, all right, in fact, even to your junior ones who are in SS1, who you know that will be science students, okay, share it to them. Let them start preparing from SS1. You see how good they are when they get to SS2 or 3. All right. So now let us look at the female reproductive system. Now, for the female reproductive system, the main reproductive organ, okay, is the ovary. Okay, this is the female reproductive system. Okay, and the main reproductive organ is the ovary. Okay, so there are a pair of them. All right, so there are a pair of ovaries, and inside the ovary, okay, we have the female gamete inside the ovary. The female gamete called the ovum, okay, or the plural ova. Okay, so please take note of that. So the main reproductive organ is the ovary. All right, it contains the female gamete called the ovum. All right, and of course inside this ovary is what we have ovum. The plural is ova. Now from the ovary there are finger-like structures. Finger-like structures known as the fimbriae. Okay, this fimbriae here. Okay, or fimbriae. All right, there are finger-like structures known as as the fimbriae. All right, and after the fimbriae, they will now see some tubular structures. Okay, that are known as as the fallopian tube. Okay, so that is that. From the ovary, we see finger-like structures known as the fimbriae. From the fimbriae, we now see tubular structures known as the fallopian tube. Now we have a pair of fallopian tube. Okay, take note that we have a pair of fallopian tube. And also remember that fallopian tube is also called the oviduct. Okay, so also called the fallopian tube as the oviduct. Okay, and from the fallopian tube we now get to a muscular organ. Okay, muscular, called what? The uterus. Uterus. Okay, UTERUS. Okay, and then from the uterus, we now come to a canal-like structure. Looks like a canal. Okay, canal-like structure that is known as the cervix. Okay, you see it. This is the uterus. All right, this uterus. They will now get to this canal-like structure. Okay, canal-like structure known as what? As the cervix, and eventually leading to a long, elastic, tubular structure known as the vagina. Okay, the vagina. All right, please take note of this. Okay, so from the fimbriae leading to what? To the oviduct or the fallopian tube. Okay, and then from the fallopian tube getting to what? A canalized structure known as uterus. From uterus to what? To the what? A tubular, long elastic structure known as what? As the vagina. So the vagina is what? Is the opening. Is the opening. Okay, is the opening. It is the part that welcomes the sperm. All right. So when the sperm is introduced, it is introduced through the what? Through the vagina. Okay. So please take note of what? Of all of these. So now, what exactly happens for a young offspring to be produced? Okay, for the humans, what exactly happens? So the sperm has already been what now? First of all, the sperm has to be introduced into the female body through the vagina, and then from the vagina, we see that the sperm will swim upwards. All right, from the vagina, the sperm will swim upwards. The sperm will what? Will swim upwards to the cervix, Then from the cervix to the what? To the uterus, and then from the uterus to the what? To the fallopian tube. Okay, let me go over that again. So when a sperm is ejaculated, it is introduced into the female body through the what? Through the vagina. Okay, so from the vagina, what happens is that what? The sperm will swim upwards through the cervix to the uterus. From the uterus to the what? To the fallopian tube. So the order will be what? From what? From the vagina. From the vagina to the what now? To the cervix. Okay, then to the what now? To the uterus. Then to the what? To the fallopian tube. Up or clear. Okay, from the vagina to the cervix, to the uterus, then to the fallopian tube. And about the same time, if the ovary releases what? An egg. Okay, if the ovary releases an egg, an egg. Okay, the process of this release of egg by the ovary is known as what? Ovulation. If you're a guy, I don't expect you to know. Okay, all right, but of course, know it. It's good for you to know it because many of you get married one day will become what? Fathers. Okay, so once what? The sperm swim through what? Through the cervix to the uterus to the fallopian tube, and about the same time, the ovary also releases an egg. What will happen is what? The egg also will swim, okay, to the fallopian tube. And then what happens in the fallopian tube? Okay, because what? The sperm and the egg are already in the fallopian tube now. What will now happen here is that the egg and the sperm will now fuse together. Okay, so a fusion happens between the egg and the sperm. Fusion, what happens between the egg and the sperm. And this fusion of the egg and the sperm, the egg is what? Is the female gamete. The sperm is the male gamete. The fusion between the male and the female gamete is what is known as what? Fertilization. Okay, I already told you before when we talk about what plants, okay, fertilization and flowering plant, that it is exactly the same thing that happens to what in humans. A male gamete will fuse with what? With the female gamete, okay, leading to the formation of what? Of a zygote. And so this is what basically what happens in the what? In the fallopian what? Tube. Okay, all of this happen in the fallopian tube. You must take note of what? Of that. All right. Now, but there may be some times where what? There will not be fusion, okay, where the fertilization will not what? Happen, okay. There will be a time, sometimes rather, when what? Fertilization will not happen, okay. And what will happen in that time? We already said that what? That in the female reproductive system we have what? A pair a pair of ovaries, okay? And of course, it is important to know that in the female reproductive system, okay, millions of what of sperm, several sperm can be introduced into the female reproductive system, okay? But for the females in the production of what, in the release of what, of that egg, okay, during ovulation, only one egg is released. Okay, now we have what, the left and the right what, ovary. Now, what happens in females is that if the, let's say this is the ovary, this is the right, this is the left. Okay, now if this one releases egg this month, okay, what happens is that what, the other one will release what, another egg the next month. This is what happens in the female reproductive system. If one ovary releases egg this month, the other one will release next month. The two of them cannot release at once. Okay, the two of them do not release at once. So the right one, if this right one is releasing this month, the next month the left one will release. Okay, so one ovary, okay, will give you what, one egg. One ovary, okay, one ovary will give you what, one egg. Okay, so you cannot have what, two eggs being released in a month. Okay, so one ovary has to leave one egg, has to release what, one egg. Okay, so it is that one egg that will now go and what, fuse with the sperm. Okay, now if the fusion does not, if the fertilization does not what occur, what now happens? What happens is that the inner wall or the inner lining of the uterus will get thickened. We get what, thickened with blood and mucus. Okay, that is what happens. Okay, so now the inner lining of the uterus will get thickened with blood and mucus. And why is this getting what, thickened? It is getting thickened with blood and mucus because if fertilization occurs, if the fusion of the male and the female gamete occurs, all right, and fertilization what really occurs, right, then it gets what, implanted. That is the developing embryo, developing embryo, okay, will get implanted. We get what, implanted. So if the fusion occurs and the fertilization what happens, right, what happens is that what, that the inner lining of the uterus will get thickened with blood and mucus, and then the developing embryo will get what, implanted. And then we know that for the next 9 months, okay, the baby formation what will go on, all right? And then of course there will also be a formation of a disc-like structure structure known as what, as the placenta. This placenta is there so that what, it can provide nourishment, okay, to the baby or to the developing what, embryo from the mother. Okay, so that is the function of what, of the placenta. Now, if this does not what happen, okay, if this fertilization does not happen, what will we have? We will have what we call unfertilized egg. So we have what, unfertilized what, egg. Okay, this is what it will leave us with. Okay, but this unfertilized egg will not just be there now, it will not just stay there waiting. Okay, it will not stay there waiting. It will, together with this what, blood and mucus that is already in the uterus. So the unfertilized egg, okay, the blood and the mucus will be shed off. Okay, there will be a shedding, okay, of what, this what, three, the blood, the mucus, and the unfertilized egg, in a process that is known as what, as menstruation. Okay, so that is what, that menstruation that females see every month. Okay, so if you say you miss your period, all right, and you truly miss it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you have not seen your period, then because what, fertilization has taken place. Okay, there is implantation already, and placenta as well started to form. Okay, so for that singular reason, you should know that what, you don't get belle or you are pregnant. Okay, so please ensure that, to understand rather the fact that once what, the egg is not fertilized, all right, once the sperm is not introduced into the female body, okay, a mature lady who has attained sexual maturity, okay, must experience what, menstruation. All right, so you experience menstruation, okay, and that is what the shedding of what? The blood, the mucus plus the unfertilized what egg. This happens, this menstruation comes what? Once a month. Once in a what? A month. Okay, it comes what? Once in a month. And that is why we call it what? Menstrual cycle. It is a cycle. Menstrual what? Cycle. So it happens once every month. So this is what basically what happens. So once fertilization what happens, okay, that means there will be implantation. You'll be expecting what? Development of what? Of the placenta and what? Nourishment of the baby. And for the next 9 months, the baby will be developing and what? And be growing until what? You deliver the baby. But once what? There's no fertilization, what will be left off is an unfertilized egg. Okay? And that unfertilized egg has to what? Be removed from the body. So it will be removed together with the blood and mucus that are in the inner lining of the uterus, and then what? They'll be shed off during what? Menstruation. Menstruation, like we said, happens once a month. Okay, so next thing we'll quickly do now is we'll talk about what? The function of different parts of what? Of the reproductive what? Organs, okay, of the reproductive system, different organs that you have in the reproductive system. Let's quickly look at what? Look at all of them, one after the other. So please ensure you like this video, ensure you subscribe to this channel, all right? Ensure you share the link of this video to your friends and loved ones. Let them come and learn, all right? Success is not meant for you alone, it's meant for everybody. Download the O3 Schools app and activate it, and you see how good you have become in the long run. So let us look at them one after the other. So one among them is what? Is the testis for the male reproductive organ. And know the function of the testis. What does the testis do? It produces what? The sperm, okay? So it produces the sperm. Okay, and it's also responsible for the production of male sex hormones, which influences the development of what we call sexual secondary characters. Development of sexual secondary characters. Okay, or you say secondary sexual characters. Okay, all right. So that is what the testis. Okay, the main function that we know is to produce what? The sperm. Okay, and then of course helps in what? Producing what? The male sex hormones, which are responsible for the development of secondary sexual characters. Then number 2, we have the vas deferens. Okay, we know what the vas deferens. This one carries the sperm from epididymis to the what? To the seminal vesicle. Okay, it carries the sperm from the what? Epididymis to the what? To the seminal vesicle. All right, then the seminal vesicle itself, it secretes what? A seminal fluid. Okay, secretes seminal fluid. Which nourishes the sperm. Okay, the sperm. And what? And gives it energy. All right, so please take note. The seminal vesicle secretes what? Seminal fluid, which nourishes the sperm and what? Gives the sperm energy to move. Okay, they also have prostrate what? Gland. And of course, we know that the prostate gland also secretes what? A seminal what? Fluid. Okay, and the seminal fluid that the prostate secretes activates what? The sperm. Okay, secretes seminal fluid, which activates the sperm. Okay, so we'll look at this part. Then let us also look at Cowper's gland. Okay, so this Cowper's gland is found in the male reproductive system. Okay, it sits below the prostrate. Okay, and what this one does basically is to what? It will secrete a seminal fluid also that kind of raises the pH of what? Of the fluid in the female reproductive system. Okay, so it secretes, okay, a seminal fluid that what now increases, or that raises the pH, that raises the pH of the fluid, okay, in the female reproductive system. Okay, so that is what the Cowper's gland. Now let us talk about the scrotum. Okay, the scrotum. What is called scrotum? Scrotum. The scrotum contains what? For the males, you know what it contains now? Okay, it contains the testes. Okay, so the scrotum contains the testis. It's a sac-like structure. Okay, it looks like sac. Okay, sac-like structure. Scrotum. Okay, a sac-like structure that contains the testes. Okay, so it's like a bag. Okay, a sac-like structure that contains the testes. Now let's talk about the penis or the penis. Okay, Nigeria people say it's the penis. Okay, it's the penis. Okay, so this one is an erectile organ. Erectile organ in the stand. Okay, in the stand waiting no good. Okay, it's an erectile what organ that helps to what? Introduce. Okay, that introduces, okay, sperm into the female reproductive system. Okay, and that is what? Through the what now? Through the vagina. Okay, the one you call vagina. All right, so that is that for that. So the scrotum is circular structure that contains the testes, while the penis is an erectile organ that introduces sperm into the female reproductive system through the vagina. Now let us talk about the urethra. Urethra. Okay, urethra. Okay, so we say this one is a canal. It's a canal. Canal through which the seminal fluid and the urine. Okay, so the urethra plays a role, okay, in both the excretory and in the reproductive system. Okay, so the semen passes through the urethra through to the penis. Okay, and then also urine also passes from the urethra to the penis. So it has a dual function. Okay, so it's a canal through which the seminal fluid and the urine passes out. Okay, through which the seminal fluid and the urine passes out. Okay, passes out. Okay, that is the urethra. You see a question on it right now from your questions. So now let's talk about the ovary. Okay, I will say that the ovary produces what? The ova. Okay, produces the ova. Okay, produces what? The ova. What else does the ova produce? Okay, the ova also produces what? Female sex hormone. Okay, it also produces the female sex hormone. Okay, produces the female sex hormone that is called the estrogen and the progesterone. Okay, which also helps in the development of sexual characters in females. All right, please take note. The ovary produces the ova, is also responsible for producing the female sex hormone, estrogen, and the progesterone, which helps in development of sexual characters in females. So in females. Now let us see what the oviduct. The oviduct, the one we call the fallopian tube. Okay, this is a tube through which the ovum, okay, passes to the uterus, to the uterus. Okay, it's a tube through which the ovum passes to the what? To the uterus. All right, and of course, it's also the place where fertilization will takes place. Okay, fertilization also takes place here. Fertilization takes place here. Okay, so that is what the oviduct, or what the fallopian tube. Now let us now see the vagina. Okay, we know what the vagina is for. Okay, that is where the penis is inserted. Okay, and where they put am. Okay, so the vagina is where the penis is inserted. All right, please ensure you like this video, like and wait no good, subscribe. Okay, download your app, pass your exam at once. That should be your only goal. All right, do not disappoint yourself, your family. Okay, it is you and you alone that can do this. Okay, you and God alone. All right, so you pray, you study to show yourself approved. Okay, so now have vagina. Okay, and the vagina is where the penis is inserted for the introduction of what? Of the sperm. Then let us now talk about the clitoris. Clitoris. This clitoris is a sensitive structure, okay, at the entrance of what? Of the vagina. All right, it is stimulated during sexual intercourse. Okay, it's a sensitive structure at the entrance to the vagina. Okay, and it is what? It is stimulated during sexual intercourse. All right, so it is stimulated during sexual intercourse. That is the clitoris. Okay, it's a sensitive structure at the entrance to the vagina, which is stimulated during sexual intercourse. Then also we have the vulva. Okay, this vulva is the outer part of the female reproductive system. Okay, it is the outer part of the female reproductive system. It encloses the opening into the vagina. Okay, so the vulva is the outer part of the female reproductive system. It encloses the opening into the vagina. Then we now have what? The uterus or the womb. Uterus or womb. This uterus or womb houses the what? The fetus. Okay, until what? Now the fetus is developed. Okay, it helps to nourish, house the fetus and nourishes it till what? Till the fetus is ready to be what? To be delivered. All right, so that is the womb, or what? The uterus. When I say belly, that belly that you see. Okay, all right, it houses the fetus. All right, until what? Now the baby, okay, is ready to be delivered. So we have established so far that the male gamete, okay, is what? The sperm, or what we can call it spermatozoa. Okay, we call it the sperm or the spermatozoa. Then we now have the female gamete to be what? The egg, or egg, or ovum. All right, so that is the male gamete, spermatozoa, while the female gamete is the egg or the ovum. Now the formation of gametes. Okay, formation of gametes. Formation of gametes is known as gametogenesis. Okay, that is what? The formation of gametes is known as what? Gametogenesis. Now the spermatozoa consists. Okay, let us even see the structure of the spermatozoa. Okay, the spermatozoa. Please ensure you subscribe or download the app. Okay, so this is how the spermatozoa looks like, your sperm. Okay, so it looks like this. Oh, how was this top structure? Okay, that goes like this. Sorry for my structure. And now how was this flagellum? This one is called flagellum. Okay, all right. Then why this one? This is the head. So from here to here is the head. Okay, why this place here? Okay, is the neck. Okay, then here is the tail. All right, why here is the middle piece. Middle piece. Okay, so in this middle piece, we just have some structures like this. All right, then I have somewhere here like this where you have the nucleus. Okay, so this part, this up here is called the acrosome. All right, while this part here is called the nucleus. This one here is called the centroid. Okay, this one is the middle piece, and that is the flagellum. Okay, so this is how what the spermatozoa looks like. Okay, it has what the head, the neck, the middle piece. All right, and of course it has a whip-like tail. Whip-like. You see, it has a whip-like tail. All right, so that is what the spermatozoa. All right, and of course the head consists of what to call what the acrosome. All right, the acrosome. Why this acrosome also consists of what to call hydrolytic enzymes. Hydrolytic what enzymes, all right? And what does this hydrolytic what enzyme help to do? It helps to what to break down the walls, okay, of what of the embryo, all right? Helps to break down the walls of the embryo. All right, so that is what the function of what of the hydrolytic what enzymes. Okay, so this is what the spermatozoa, your sperm. Okay, this is what it looks like. The head, this had the head parts. Okay, that contains what the acrosome, and the acrosome contains what hydrolytic enzyme, which helps what to break down the walls of the embryo. So now let us look at the ovum. Okay, I'll look at the sperm or the spermatozoa. Let us look at the ovum. Let's see the structure first, then we'll say some few things about it, and we are done because of time. All right, so please do not forget to download the application. Okay, so this is how the ovum looks like. So we have something like this. All right, then we'll now have another one like this. Okay, then we'll now have something like this. Okay, with what these structures. All right, then all right, in between them, have something like this. This is how it looks like. Okay. All right. Then here we have the nucleus somewhere here. Okay, so having some structures. All right, so this is the nucleus. Okay, this is the nucleus. Then we now have the cytoplasm. Inside here, we have some things like this, like dot, 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 dot. This is the cytoplasm. All right, even inside here, I think we have all these dots also. All right, so this inner wall is called vitelline membrane. Okay, while this one is called perivitelline space. Okay, then we have this ones we call zona. All right, then we'll now have this ones we call corona radiator. Corona radiator. Okay, so this is how what the ovum looks like. All right, this is just what a sketch of what of the ovum and its parts. So the ovum is surrounded by a vitelline membrane. Okay, by a vitelline membrane. Okay, which is what outside the cell membrane. Okay, that is it. The ovum is surrounded by a vitelline membrane, which is what outside the cell membrane. And the ovum is produced in the Graafian molecule. Okay, Graafian molecule, not molecule, sorry, follicle. I'm getting tired already. Okay, so the ovum is produced in the Graafian follicle. All right, and it is produced through a process known as what? Oogenesis. All right, please understand. All right, for the production of gamete, the process for the production of gamete is called gametogenesis. But the production of what of ovum, okay, is what? Oogenesis. Please take note of that, oogenesis. So this is the ovum in the short elucidation. Okay, so the ovum is produced in the Graafian follicle, which is in the ovary, in the ovary in a process known as what? Oogenesis. Okay, now fertilization, okay, is the fusion of the nucleus of the sperm, okay, and what? The nucleus of the ovum. All right, so that's what fertilization is: the nucleus, the fusion of the nucleus of the sperm and the fusion of the nucleus of the ovum. And fertilization occurs in the upper part, okay, of what? Of the fallopian tube. In the upper part of the what? Fallopian tube, or the one you call the oviduct. All right, fertilization occurs, it happens in the upper part of the fallopian tube or the oviduct. Now, the period of time for the development of the fetus, okay, the period of time for the development of the fetus, okay, in the what? In the uterus or the womb is known as gestation. Okay, gestation. Please take note, okay, the period of time for the development of the fetus, okay, in the uterus is known as gestation. Now, implantation of what? Of the embryo, implantation of the embryo, where does it occur? Right, I told you before, okay, it occurs in the uterus, okay? That is where the implantation of the embryo occurs. So we say that implantation of embryo occurs in the uterus, okay? And then what happens? The embryo now grows, okay? It grows within a fluid-filled sac, okay? The embryo grows in the uterus within a fluid-filled sac that is known as what? That's known as what? Amnion. Amnion, which forms the amniotic membrane. Amniotic membrane. Okay, so say the implantation of the embryo occurs in the uterus, and then it grows within a fluid-filled sac known as the amnion, okay, which now forms what? The amniotic what? Membrane. Also have another to call the amniotic fluid. Amniotic fluid, fluid, which helps to keep the temperature constant. Okay, amniotic fluid helps to keep the temperature constant, and also helps to cushion the embryo from friction. All right, so that's the function of the amniotic fluid. It helps to what? To keep the temperature constant, and also to cushion the embryo from friction. You must take note of that. All right, so the implantation of the embryo occurs in the uterus. It grows within a fluid-filled sac known as the amnion, which now forms the amniotic membrane. And the amniotic fluid in the amniotic membrane helps to keep the temperature constant, and also to cushion the embryo from friction. Okay, now the placenta. We know the placenta. We said the placenta helps to nourish the baby. Okay, to provide, it's a link between the mother and the child. Okay, it helps to supply nourishment to the baby. Okay, so that the mother is eating, all right, all of those nutrients is being transported to the baby also through the placenta. So the placenta is a temporary organ. Placenta is an organ that connects the developing fetus via the umbilical cord, okay, via the umbilical cord to the uterine wall, okay, to the uterine wall. Okay, so that is what the placenta, it connects the developing fetus via the umbilical cord to the uterine wall. It is the organ through which food and oxygen is transported to the embryo, and also helps to produce antibodies. The placenta is the organ through which food and oxygen is transported to the embryo. Okay, and this placenta also helps to produce antibodies bodies that help to what? To protect what? The developing embryo. Okay, so we must take note of what? Of the placenta. It's very, very important. Questions are being asked from here also. Now, let's also talk about identical twins. Okay, so what happens in the case of identical twins is that a fertilized egg will split into two before developing. Okay, so for identical twins, all right, a fertilized egg splits into two equal halves before developing. Okay, so in case you see what? Identical twins, okay, or you have been asked question on identical twins, you should know that what? It's a fertilized egg, okay, that splits into two equal halves before it now what? Starts developing. This means that they obtain their gene from the same sperm and the same egg, okay? They obtain their gene from the same sperm and the same egg, okay? They obtain their gene from the same sperm and also from the same egg. Siamese twins, okay? This Siamese twins happens when what? A fertilized egg splits, when it splits, but this time not into two equal halves, but incompletely, okay? So when it splits incompletely, we now have what? Siamese twins, like I'm showing you on the screen right now. Those are Siamese twins, all right? So once a fertilized egg splits incompletely, what we have is what is Siamese twins, okay? But once a fertilized egg splits into two equal halves before developing, that is what now? Identical twins are what? Are formed in that condition. All right? So this is where I'm going to stop. In the next class, I'm going to look at meiosis and mitosis, okay? So please ensure you stay with us. Let us quickly look at the questions we have. You will answer them because right now I've taught you that has become easy. Biology 2024, number 20 says, which structure is represented by the letter A on the diagram of the female reproductive system? All right, at the top part, you should know already. A says ovary, B says uterus, C says endometrium, D says fallopian tube. Tell me the answer in the comment section. Don't say A, just say number one is this, A, B, C, or D. Okay, so let us go to the next question. 2017, number 17, you say all but one are part of the female reproductive system. That means all of them are except one. A says ovary, B says seminal vesicle, C says uterus, D says fallopian tube. So which one is wrong there? We should know it by now. 2023, number 40 says, which of the following is not a function of the reproductive system in humans? Which of them is not a function? All are but one. A says production of gametes, okay? B says fertilization of the egg by the sperm. C says regulation of body temperature. D says development and nourishment of the fetus. Okay, so tell me the correct answer in the comment section. 2009, number 25 says the reproductive system of a male mammal is made up of A says claspers, prostate gland, sperm duct, and vas deferens. B says testis, prostate gland, sperm duct, and vas deferens. C says oviduct, urethra, testis, and sperm duct. This is testis, uterus, prostate, and sperm duct. So tell me the correct answer in the comment section. 2003, number 22 says, in mammalian males, the excretory and reproductive system share the, A says the urethra, B says the vas deferens, C says the urethra, D says the testes. Okay, tell me the correct answer in the comment section. 2023, number 26. Which of the following is a male reproductive organ in humans? A says ovary, B says uterus, C says testis, D says fallopian tube. Okay, so there are so many other questions on the application. Use the question search feature, search for them, answer all of them. Even as you encounter them in your challenges, okay, and in your classroom, keep smashing them, all right? Everything becomes easier for you. Please download the app and activate. Message this phone number on WhatsApp, 09121515246 for you to get your activation and start immediately. Wish you all the best. See you at the top.